Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm still working on Rebalance 2023, but I decided to just kind of set some time aside to work on giving you guys a guide for taking the Spiderwoman Node 42 mini boss that has been causing a lot of problems for a lot of Alliance War players. I've talked to a lot of people, especially other players in my Alliance chat and other players in other chats. It's very hard to explain this fight like through text, because there's a lot of stuff going on, there's a lot of variables going on. So I decided to make a little gameplay guide for how to best approach the Spiderwoman Node 42 boss with Baron Zemo. I think Zemo is one of the best options to use, especially for this upcoming Alliance War season, especially because he's not as high profile as other key counters like Okoye and Crossbones. He's not going to get countered. He has the tactic this season that's going to help him out, and even without the tactic, he's a very good option for the fight just in a vacuum. You know, I was able to get a solo on this fight the first time I had ever done it. I don't know how I managed to get that, but I got it. But I've taken this fight like 6 or 7 times, so I've made plenty of mistakes. I've found many shortcuts. I kind of know this fight like the back of my hand now. So there's a couple of things you need to keep in mind before you get into this fight specifically. First thing is that a lot of people are going to tell you that you need deep wounds maxed out on Baron Zemo. And I can tell you right now, this helps a lot. It makes the fight a hell of a lot faster. If you have this fight down to a science, if you're able to play this fight down to a science, you don't particularly need it to go faster. You can just play more patiently. That's one of the great things about Zemo, is that his damage doesn't go out on a single payoff, and it doesn't particularly expire. If they're able to be bled and you get those bleeds on the opponent, you can take as long as you'd like. They're eventually going to die. You know? So deep wounds is very appreciated, it's not required. Another factor of the fight that you definitely want to consider but isn't needed is this synergy called Masters of Evil, which lives on Zemo himself, and all it does is that it gives you bonus attack rating for every other villain on your team, and that attack rating bonus is doubled when you're fighting against a hero. So if you have 2 other villains on the team, that's 6 attack rating at minimum. If you're fighting against Spider-Woman, that's 12% bonus attack rating. All of these fights that I'm fighting are going to be Baron Zemo versus Spider-Woman at equal rank. They're moderately boosted, and they're usually having at least 1 villain on my team. Maybe 2, but most of them are usually 1 because I have to bring Viv for fights. This synergy helps a lot, and maxed out deep wounds also help a lot. These 2 aspects are definitely going to help you if you're punching up, if you're fighting a rank 3 Zemo versus a rank 4 Spider-Woman, or rank 2 versus rank 3, or so on and so forth. But the biggest thing about this fight that definitely comes down to preference is that you are going to have to consider whether you want Dexterity on or off. I have an alliance mate of mine, his name is Sleepy, and he prefers to do this fight without Dexterity on because, spoiler alert, this fight has Power Snack, so whenever you gain a buff, it gives the opponent a burst of power. Personally, I like to keep Dexterity on simply because it allows me to manipulate Power Snack so that I can push Spider-Woman to a special 2, so that way I activate less special 1s. I've gotten very good at manipulating Power Snack to my advantage that way, but if you don't feel you're confident with that, if you feel overwhelmed by all the factors and variables that are going on with the fight, I definitely recommend you start trying this fight with Dexterity off, so that way you can just kind of get a feel for it. And if you feel like you can handle it with Dexterity on and try to use Power Snack to your advantage, it'll definitely be a lot cheaper than turning it off, but at a certain point, it's up to your preference. It's up to what you feel confident with, because this fight is very easy once you get it down, but it's a lot of work to kind of get to that point. We're also going to be dealing with the Wrath tactic, which is you gain a raid debuff every 7 seconds. They go unstoppable when you have a burst of debuffs on you, and if you knock them down with a tactic champion, you get endurance, which will also give you grit. This fight becomes very different with the tactic in play, because the tactic does help you a lot. It helps you so much when it comes to getting out of tricky situations. But if this video is watched in the future and people aren't dealing with the Wrath tactic anymore, this fight can definitely still be done without the Wrath tactic in play, because you don't have as many debuffs, you don't have the endurance helping you, but you also don't have to worry about her unstoppable, which gives you a lot more room to move. So first things first, we're going to take a look at my best run, the best run I've achieved at this fight, just so that you can see how we get from point A to point B. So right here, I'm heavy attacking, getting those debilitates on me, getting the tactic debuff on me, and then boom, I've got her rooted, hitter, 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 hitter. I mistimed the special 1 here, but that's okay because all of Zemo's bleeds are inflicted through block. Here's what I was talking about earlier. I manipulate Power Snack to my advantage. I'm able to push her to a special 2 instead of dealing with a special 1. Here I dex the special 1. I've got all the bleeds are ticking down her. I've got 17 bleeds on her. I'm just waiting patiently, trying to find my opening. Because of the tactic and because of just how Spiderwoman works, I'm getting a lot of debuffs just by doing nothing. And right there, I'm able to get another root rotation, keep going. I heavy attack to refresh my tactic. I mistime the special 1 again, but again, still doesn't matter. We've got 40 bleeds on her now, and now she's ticking down real bad. I get very close to pushing her red here, but again, able to manipulate this Power Snack. I'm just able to bait a special 2, use the relic, boom. Easy game, 100% full yellow health bar. That's the best fight I've gone with her so far. This fight may seem like a lot is going on at once, and it is going on at once, but I'm going to break it down step by step just so that you can see why I'm doing specific things throughout the fight. So first things first, the way you want to start this fight is that you want to parry and heavy attack her. This is specifically because of the tactic, because endurance is gained by knocking the opponent down, and this will kind of allow us to shrug off debuffs faster and allows us to ignore the unstoppable that comes from the tactic. If you're playing this fight without this specific tactic in play, you can definitely just light attack to give her less power and just kind of get more debilitates. But for the sake of me keeping my endurances up and trying to avoid having to deal with the tactic as much as possible, I prefer to heavy attack as much as I can. Just as much as I can, get as many of those endurances on as possible. So long as you're able to get a good enough RNG on getting debilitates inflicted on you, you're able to get her rooted within the first 10 seconds of the fight, first 10, 12 seconds of the fight. Once you have her rooted, you be as aggressive as possible. Get as many bleeds on you, throw as many special 1s as you can. Ideally, what you want to do is that you want to time the special 1 so that the fumble timer expires while you do the special 1. This is to avoid fumble just being on you, just so you can avoid it. It's not the end of the world if fumble gets on you, but it's something you definitely want to prefer. And if you have to throw a special 1 into the block to achieve that, definitely prefer to do that, you know? But what's important here is that you're able to get her to that point and have her bait a special 2 right after that. This is why I prefer to deal with Dexterity on, because getting to that first point where you root her is very easy. The difficult part is being able to get to a safe point after that, because either she's going to turtle up and throw a special 1 into your face and you have to dex it, or she's going to bob and weave a little bit and you have to bait the special 2 by using Dexterity to your advantage. So that's why I prefer to have it on, but again, it's totally up to preference. I haven't been able to get access to a fight where Dexterity is off. It probably exists somewhere, I just haven't looked for it. These are just the ways I've been able to do it with Dexterity on. From this point, once you're able to go to a special 2, I like to punish her special 2 with a heavy attack just to, again, refresh my endurance charges. And then from here, you can just play safe. Well, if you got the fumble debuff off of you, you can play safe. If you're able to get past this point where you've gotten past your first root cycle and you've managed to bait out a special attack from Spiderwoman and survive, you're in a very good place right now because you can essentially cut all the factors in the fight down by half. The evade is no longer a factor because you have both a decelerate and a disorient effect on Spiderwoman. For those of you that don't know, Spiderwoman's personal evade only hits a max ability accuracy of like 36%. And once you have disorient and decelerate on them, that chance is now 0. So at this point in the fight, if you've rooted her once and thrown at least one special attack 1, you never have to worry about evade again. It's just not a factor anymore. You also ideally don't have to worry about the tactic because at this point you probably knocked her down at least a little bit. So that way you can maintain the endurance and maintain the grit that comes with that endurance. After you get past your first root rotation, you essentially should just consider Spiderwoman to be unblockable at all times. You're going to bob and weave, you definitely don't want to block anything. A tool that I've learned, a unique trick that I've learned to bait heavies out of champions that I don't want to take block damage from is to Dexter hit and hold block right after to kind of trick them into thinking that they can heavy attack. Basically, I'm baiting her medium attack, trying to kind of not trigger Dex from it, but then I bait the medium attack and then I hold block and then I'm ready to bait the attack if she charges at me with the medium again. But if she charges her heavy, that's a free opening for me. So that's another trick that you may want to practice on your own time, but it is incredibly invaluable for this fight specifically because Spiderwoman is going to be unblockable at all times after your first root rotation. At this point in time, the only thing you have to worry about now is the fumble timer because the fumble timer is the only thing that's going to mess you up. Obviously, be very careful about power snack if you're having dexterity on, but the fumble timer is the only thing that's going to mess you up now. Power sting, it's gonna hurt, but it's not gonna hurt that much. It hurts way more to take power sting damage from Spider-Woman herself. But at this point in the fight, you're in a very good spot because you can literally just stand still and wait for her to root herself via debuffs, and you can just keep going. Just keep going. Apply more bleeds. Apply more bleeds. Once you're able to get the second root rotation out of the way, at that point you'll probably have close to like 40 something bleeds if you've got a good rotation on, and she'll be chunking down really fast. And if you're able to get 2 good root rotations, you're able to clear out this fight in about a minute's time. You know, if you're running at a lower rank or at a lower sig, or you don't have a lot of villains on the team or a lot of pointed deep wounds, this fight can extend to like a minute and a half, or of course if something goes wrong. But you can definitely get this fight done in under a minute if you have a very strong Zemo and if you had a perfect rotation. Now that we've seen a perfect fight, let's look at a few points of failure for Zemo. So one thing that can definitely go wrong in this fight is that if you don't get lucky with your debilitate RNG, you might not be able to go into a full root rotation, and then if you don't dex the special one perfectly, then what's going to happen is that you're going to be hit with power stings. They can't be cleansed, but the cleanse is still going to attempt to purify them, so you're going to lose your root rotation because she used a special attack. Now, this problem can be avoided if you have Arnim Zola on your team, but I know a lot of people aren't going to be wanting to use Arnim Zola as an attacker, so this is something to definitely look out for. This is a problem that's going to be remedied as soon as this tactic is over, because this lack of RNG is really only going to happen if you have to use heavy attacks in those first 10 seconds of the fight. But if you're watching this in the future and the tactic is no longer in play, you can definitely just use light attacks and just make sure you have a lot more rolls to the dice to get debilitates on you. But this is the first point of failure that can definitely happen when it comes to dealing with Spider-Woman. Another big point of failure here is that this is from the first time I took Spider-Woman with Zemo, by the way, is that if you mistime the fumble, or if you just miss the dex and you take a special one to the face, it is perfectly fine to just wait. Here you'll be seeing me not doing that and trying to be aggressive, trying to flex on Spider-Woman, but ultimately you can just wait. The bleeds are doing plenty of damage, and there's nothing wrong with just waiting out those power stings. So if I just waited, I would have saved a lot more of my health, but all you gotta do is just wait for an opportune time to special interceptor or throw a special 3, get more spacing, get your tactic back online. There's nothing wrong with you waiting if you take a special 1 to the face. It's much more preferable that you wait than it is you try and take advantage of the fight and you take more damage to the face. There you go. See, I took the fumble again, or I took the special 1 to the face again, but I'm just stalling out the fight and I'm able to kill her in one fell swoop. If you're having trouble with this fight after the root point, so long as you get past that first root phase of Zemo, you're already in a very good spot. At that point, you need to play patiently, you need to play cautiously, and you just need to learn to rely on your root and let her root herself. Here's another fight where I want to show you a mistake I made, and this one actually kills me in this fight. Basically, just another example of me getting overzealous and being impatient. Patience is the virtue you want to adhere to in this fight. And this is also another example of why you might want to turn off dexterity for this fight, at least when you're starting out, because it can be the bane of you. Because if I'm usually very good about using dexterity to manipulate power snack to push them to the special I want them to push to, but I made a mistake here. I got too aggressive, I got too overzealous, and I thought she would throw a special 2 easy peasy, but no, she hits me with a special 3. And yeah, that's about it for Zemo versus Spider-Woman. This is a fight that really tests your ability to work under pressure, but it's a fight that's incredibly rewarding, incredibly consistent, and it's also really fun. This is one of the first few times I've ever fought against a mini-boss that I'm excited to fight against. Like, oh yes, I get to play Zemo versus Spider-Woman again. Like, it is a genuinely fun fight to play, which is weird because this placement has been the bane of my existence for like a season and a half. But let me know what you guys think about this guide. Let me know if you thought I was really bad at making guides, or if you thought this guide was really helpful to you. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.